All right. Welcome to Angel in the Afternoon or Evening, whatever. I'm your host, Angel Rivera, alongside D, who just literally just came on. So let's welcome him. You hear me? So we supposed to have D here. Thank you, Mastermind. Please give us a like and subscribe. So, how's everyone doing tonight? Yeah, by the way, just bear with me here as Restream has changed a lot of their systems here tonight. So, excuse while I'm trying to get used to the new system here. So, yeah. Why am I... So just bear with me 1 second here while I figure this stuff out. Because Restream literally just changed everything here on me. So how's everyone doing tonight? Hope everyone is having a good week and a great weekend. And I wasn't expecting everything to change here as it is, so... Jeez. No, sorry about that. Literally, just bear with me 1 second here. So, let's get started here in a second. It's literally like... Oh, thank you. Well, I'm glad Rumble's letting you know that when I'm live, because quite frankly, it's like... It's at times where it's too much. Well, D's gone. He should be back soon. But yeah, I mean, just bear with me 1 second while I don't know why all of a sudden everything changed here on Restream. It's like, is this an update all of a sudden? Like, whoops, everything is different now. Nothing is where I had it before, and it's like really annoying. So, do 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 do. So let's see. Why is my stuff okay? No. Like, where is everything I had? Bear with me 1 second. I'll figure this out. It's just uh come on. It's a bit absurd here. Okay. Well, this will have to do because, quite frankly, I don't know. So let's get started with this tonight because, quite frankly, I just don't know. No. Come on. It's like a literally like... It's like, here we go. Lord. It's like everything has changed all of a sudden, and I have no way to really know how everything is done or not done here. It's ridiculous.
Andrew, can you hear me, my little brother?
Yeah, yeah, I can hear you.
All right. Yeah, you're probably gonna hear some birds as well.
Yeah, I'm just trying to
I saw that.
figure out how, because Restream just changed all of a sudden on me. So,
Right.
uh, uh, God.
Yeah, no, we having the same issue. I was like trying to get it to. Well, right now I'm on my phone, so
Oh, okay.
yeah, I'm out of time because they still doing construction inside. Wait,
Okay.
do we get copyrighted? You got birds in the background. Is that a thing?
No, I mean, I was wondering where the birds are coming from because it's not coming from me.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to my best to try to mute it, and then I'll just
uh,
unmute when I talk.
okay. Well, let me get started with this since still trying to figure this new system out in Restream. So, as sure everybody knows, I mean, I all of a sudden unexpectedly have this new system here all of a sudden trying to figure out. So just bear with me 1 second. Let's see. So we'll just start it with this and we'll go from there. And I'm sure everybody knows, we have Israel, the United States, is supposed to release a report to Congress about whether Israel is committing war crimes or not. And it turns out that the U.S. will delay that said report indefinitely until God knows when. As far as I know, it's indefinitely because that's what I was reading. That report will be delayed. So let's read this. The Biden administration reported whether Israel has violated U.S. and international humanitarian law during the war in Gaza has been delayed. It will no longer be released on Wednesday as planned. Three Senate aides and a House aide told Politico. The State Department has been working for months on the report, which will issue a determination whether Israel has violated international humanitarian law since the war in Gaza began. If so, the U.S. will be expected to stop sending Israel military assistance, which isn't going to happen because, as we all know, the U.S. will support Israel no matter what. So this delay is obviously just an excuse in order to continue to finance and to support Israel. But the report will be finished by an initial Wednesday deadline, said the aides, granted anonymity to discuss internal communications. In an email, the Biden administration notified the Hill that it will miss the date without providing a clear reason why. Oh, we all know the reason why is because, quite frankly, they don't want to admit, oh, yeah, by the way, Israel is committing war crimes. And if since they're committing war crimes, we have to stop funding them, which is why they don't want to continue with that. They don't want to actually release the report. The email said the report is briefly delayed, but does not provide specific timeline. That's more definitive than the message from the State Department spokesman Matthew Miller to reporters on Tuesday afternoon. He said that the report was not yet finished, but added we were trying very hard to meet the deadline. Bullshit. It is possible it slips
Big
just a little
time.
bit, but we are trying to get it done by tomorrow. Miller noted in the deadline was self-imposed rather than a requirement. In other words, like, oh yeah, we self-imposed that deadline, but it doesn't mean that we're actually going to, make it. A senior administration official granted anonymity to discuss the internal processes, said they expect to be delayed in less than a week. Asked why the report is taking longer, the National Security Council deferred to the State Department. The State Department did not immediately respond to requests for comment. It's like, oh no, no, it's not us, it's State Department. State Department's like, oh no, well, I mean, it's them, it's not us. So it's like it's going back and forth. The reports delay come as Israel attacks the southern city of Rafah in Gaza, which some 1.4 million Palestinians are sheltering. Aid groups have warned that any invasion will put the civilians at risk and devastate humanitarian operations. President Joe Biden has warned against Israel conducting a major operation in the city without a plan to protect civilians, which is bullshit, as we all know. Which is bullshit, as we all know. Let's see. We have no ground to stand on anymore. A former foreign service officer who worked for the state for more than 18 years, and resigned last month. The U.S. efforts to bring the war in Gaza to an end are a failed policy. Let's see. On Monday night, 185 lawyers, including 27 currently in the administration, sent a letter to top U.S. officials saying that sending weapons to Israel is illegal, according to the copy of the letter obtained by Politico. Quite frankly, the U.S. doesn't care whether it's legal or illegal or whatever words you want to use. It doesn't matter to them, as long as Israel gets the weapons. That's all they care about. If you haven't already, please give me a like on the stream. It helps me a lot with the algorithm, all that.
Yeah,
There's
definitely gotta
also,
hit that like, man.
yeah, definitely. There's a growing momentum among Democrats, including Biden-owned allies, to support conditioning assistance to Israel. Last week, 57 Democrats urged the Biden administration to withhold certain offensive military aid. Not all offensive military aid, certain, which I'll get to in a minute what they're actually withholding, to deter an invasion of Rafah. And 88 Democrats urged the administration to consider its power to suspend certain transfers of offensive weapons to press Israel to allow more humanitarian aid into Gaza. Among lawmakers' possible action includes introducing legislation to block arms transfers, demanding an explanation and documentation from the administration, or trying to have the U.S. undergo process of determining compliance again. Josh Paul, a former State Department official involved in transferring arms to American allies, who resigned in November, told Politico a lot of people are watching. Former arm Former foreign affairs officer in the State Bureau of Democracy, Human Rights and Labor who resigned in March. Wait, what kind of a former foreign affairs officer in the State's Bureau of Democracy, Human Rights and Labor? I mean, what kind of 1984 shit is that? It's like, oh yeah. I mean, she worked for the foreign affairs officer in the State's Bureau of Democracy. It's like, the fuck is
Wow.
that shit?
Wow. So it
Yeah,
sounds like a faction from Doom.
it's absurd. It's like,
Right.
oh yeah, I mean, she worked for Democrat. She works for foreign affairs officer in the State's Bureau of Democracy,
Jeez.
whatever the
Yeah,
hell that means.
1930. Yeah, that's coming from the insular police of insular cases back in the 30s.
Why does Biden hate Jews so much? Well, I mean, he hates Jews that are anti-Zionist. I'll tell you that much. Let's see. I hit the like button so hard I got a court date. I didn't give you that court date, Earl, so I'm sorry to hear that.
That was probably
Let's
me.
see. Uh, yeah, I'm. I might have to go on laptop to watch both shows. Well, if you are in chat, just give me a like. Let's see. Yeah, well, it's the same nonsense as usual. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching. Let's see. Yeah, well, I mean, is as usual. The administration is all about delaying weapons. That these delay weapons are nothing but a fake, virtue signal. It's not really an actual real delay because the only weapons that are apparently being delayed are these 2,000-pound bombs,
Mm.
like these bombs where you have that are not precision bombs. They are what's called dumb bombs. Basically, they'll just you drop them and they'll bomb the whole block. Basically,
Right. And you
so
know what's the
that
saddest thing about that, Angel? A lot of people are going to
go
fall
ahead.
into that headline. You heard
Yeah,
me? A
yeah,
lot
go
of
ahead.
people, yeah, no, a lot of people are going to fall into that headline like, oh, wow, he's really going after BB. There's
Hmm.
people that's going to fall into that headline.
Of
And
course,
then
there's.
sad. I mean, wow.
Yeah, it's bullshit.
Right.
Like, there's no way that Joe Biden's actually, cutting off. actual weapon supplies. I mean, I already see they'll kind of admit to it here in this report that I have here, where oh yeah, we're just barely delaying like one or two things here, but Israel is it still continue to get defensive weapons. Defensive weapons. They're not going to get. They're not. They're not going to stop actual weapons. It's more like
Right.
yeah, we're just gonna stop the dumb bombs. We're not going to give you that for a while, but we'll
Right.
give you everything else you need, which is bullshit. I mean, it's just and then I get liberals telling me, "Oh well, Biden's actually doing something." It's like bull fucking shit. He's doing something.
Well, that's what I was talking about. It's just I'm telling you, it's so sad to think that maybe,
Mm.
the sad thing is to think that there's people that actually believe that like no, that he's actually trying to stop this war, whatever. I mean, not even a war. It's basically, call it for what it is. But
Yeah.
wow.
So yeah, this is a video of Biden administration defense suspending weapons to Israel over Rafah assault concerns, which is barely a concern because they're only stopping certain weapons, not everything. But it's just a virtue signal for the election because Biden is deeply unpopular, partly because of because of what Israel's doing in Gaza. So they're like, oh well, yeah, we're stopping some aid, but not all the aid. We're just stopping a little bit of it. So that's
Hour. The Biden administration has suspended delivery of thousands of bombs to Israel, a rare move by a White House that has said its commitment to Israel is, quote, ironclad. Israel seized the Rafah border crossing from Gaza into Egypt on Monday and said it would invade Rafah City if Hamas does not release the hostages it holds by week's end.
Criticism of the suspension from many Republicans and some Democrats was swift. Speaker Mike Johnson and Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell co-signed a letter to the president denouncing the delay. The Biden White House also delayed delivery to Capitol Hill of a congressionally mandated report on whether or not the Israeli military is adhering to international humanitarian law.
which was a letter I talked about earlier, which Congress is supposed to, the White House supposed to give Congress. But of course they didn't because everybody damn well knows that Israel is committing war crimes, which is why if the administration admits that, then that means that they can't give any more weapons to Israel because it would violate U.S. law. Yes.
Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin defended the weapons pause at a Senate hearing this morning before being interrupted by pro-Palestinian protesters.
We're going to continue to do what's necessary to ensure that Israel has the means to defend itself. But that said, we are currently reviewing some near-term security assistance shipments in the context of unfolding events in Rafah. Some of the security assistance that we're providing to...
Following all of this is our Nick Schifrin, who joins me here at the desk tonight. Nick, good to see you.
Thanks, Donna.
Let's just start with what exactly the administration has suspended here.
The administration froze the shipment of 3,500 American bombs to Israel. These are weapons that were already congressionally approved, specifically 1,800 2,000-pound bombs, which Israel has used.
See, 1,800 2,000-pound bombs. In other words, it's like these dumb bombs that you'll drop from an airplane and destroy city blocks, which is what you see here. It's basically, these bombs, that eviscerate everything, not precision bombs that, that you can use AI in order to bomb a certain room in an apartment building. No, these are dumb bombs. They'll destroy everything in a block radius or two, like you see here.
Has used mostly in northern Gaza. You see the aftermath of one right there to target Hamas tunnels deep underground. But these are the bombs that have caused the most civilian casualties because of their size.
These are the bombs that caused the most civilian casualties. So it's not like, they stopped just those shipments, not everything else that Israel quote unquote needs, which I don't buy that they need, but quote unquote, they need it. And the only thing they stopped is these 2,000-pound bombs, which destroy everything and kill everybody.
Their size and because they are unguided. A senior administration official says, quote, we are especially focused on the NU bombs and the impact they could have in dense urban settings. That is a reference to Rafah, where, of course, 1.2 million Gazans have fled in southern Gaza, and Israel is threatening to assault, as you were saying before, especially Rafah city. Now, Israel has more than enough weapons, Amna, to be able to assault Rafah. So this is not about readiness. This is what one official tells me is a message, and that message is being sent also because the U.S. is saying if Israel does not go into Rafah, then there will not be further frozen shipments. Not only those 3,500 bombs that we talked about already, but a separate shipment of joint direct attack munitions, or JDAMs. These are kits that turn unguided munitions into precision-guided munitions that Israel is also asking for. But the U.S. is not blocking any defensive weapons. That includes missile defense.
They're not blocking any defensive weapons. They're just blocking these 2,000-pound bombs, which is meaningless. It's just a virtue signal from the administration.
Nor is it blocking recent appropriated foreign financial money for Israeli weapons.
They're not actually blocking anything. They're just blocking these 2,000-pound bombs, which Israel really doesn't need, apparently, because they're not blocking any defensive weapons. They're just blocking these 2,000-pound bombs, which is just, like, oh, well, we're blocking these, right? We're blocking this. Everything else we're going to let through. But we're blocking these bombs that Israel really doesn't need.
In total, the U.S. has sent Israel billions of dollars since October the 7th, but it's a major step for President Biden, who's criticized this idea in the past. The fact is that this is the largest leverage that the U.S. has over Israel, the weapons.
A major step. So what's been...
No, it's not a major step.
Right.
It's not a major step. They make it seem like it's a major step. It isn't.
Right.
It's like, oh, well, we're blocking these one group of bombs, but everything else we're letting through. And then they're asking, like, that's a big deal.
And my thing is this.
Response, both here at home and...
Yeah, go ahead.
So my thing is this. So they say that Israel have enough weapons, and I'm like, so they getting those weapons from where again? The bombs is from the United States?
Yeah,
we overstocked them? Wow.
Yeah, we're giving it to them. What's up, Steph? Thank you for joining us.
Oh yeah, I see the chat now on this phone. Let's go. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, everything. It's like, really? I mean, they're acting like it's, this is a huge deal, guys. We're stopping these one group of shipments, but everything else is going through. Bullshit.
Home and overseas.
The Democrats who have called for the U.S. to use this leverage hailed this idea, but Republicans criticize it. The
Democrats hailed this idea because ultimately, they want a virtue signal too.
Right, there you go.
Like AOC and the Squad and
right.
A lot of these liberals that are online, like, oh, you see, they're stopping certain shipments, but not everything. I mean, they'll continue to get their aid and they'll continue to get everything, but let's just stop them using these 2,000-pound dumb bombs that kill everybody, which eventually they'll get anyways because the administration will give it to them. But
The chairs of the House Foreign Affairs and Armed Services Committee said they were, quote, appalled by the decision, and they said it weakens deterrence against Iran and Lebanese Hezbollah. And a source briefed on the details
Hezbollah
tells me that quote, Israeli officials...
Yeah, they're evil pieces of shit motherfuckers. Yeah,
right, they back.
That's basically what. About Hezbollah, let's be scared of them. Muslim sounding name. Remember that.
And anything that starts with an H, right?
Yeah, they're Muslim and they're supposed to be scary. Remember that.
Unbelievable.
Officials expressed deep frustration at the delay of the shipment and the U.S. briefings to the media on the matter, raising concerns that the move may jeopardize the hostage deal negotiations at a critical moment. And that's what makes this moment so...
But here's the thing. Hamas agreed to a ceasefire. Meanwhile, Israel's like, oh, no, we don't actually agree, even though we wanted to agree to ceasefire. But Hamas actually agreed to a ceasefire and releasing all hostages.
And we're talking about, what, 5 hostages? I mean, the numbers keep growing and changing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how many hostages Hamas actually has, but they apparently Hamas agreed to a ceasefire and surrendering all hostages they have. And Israel, which Israel allegedly wanted. But meanwhile,
Right.
as soon as Hamas agreed to it, oh no, we actually don't agree. We
Mm.
want to invade Rafah, so go fuck yourselves.
Right.
That's basically what Israel's saying, in particular Netanyahu.
So critical. CIA Director Bill Burns is in the middle of to accept a hostage deal as Israel threatens this week to go into
That's
Rafah.
not happening. They're not agreeing to dick.
But if there is no hostage deal and the president is faced with this major decision of whether to withhold, major points are intertwined and they have major ramifications not only for the war but the future of the U.S.-Israel relationship.
They're bullshit. The administration do exactly what Israel tells them to do. That's what's going to happen. They're not going to. The administration isn't going to actually, be all of a sudden like, oh yeah, we hate Israel now. That's bullshit. All right, so
look, I did say I was gonna play a little devil's advocate. I'm gonna be this
okay,
white liberal person here.
okay.
My thing is that I think that's great, right? So, what would be the thing that you would say that is not? Like why you're against it?
Why am I? Well, because this is not a real deal. This is just bullcrap.
Mm.
The administration is just virtue signaling here.
Right.
All right. And the reason why I say that is because of this. Joe Biden says Hamas has ancient desires to wipe Jews off the face of the earth at Holocaust remembrance event. There's no evidence for this, but the president's going to say this.
In 2023.
All right, let's see.
On the sacred Jewish holiday, the terrorist group Hamas unleashed the deadliest day of the Jewish people since the Holocaust.
What?
Driven by ancient.
So October 6th was the deadliest day that Jews went through since the Holocaust? Are you kidding me? How many people actually died there? A few hundred on October 6th? I don't know the exact number, but it's very few compared to what happened in the Holocaust.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
Ancient desire to wipe out the Jewish people off the face of the earth.
I wonder why that is. Aren't the Jews, aren't Zionist Jews in Israel trying to wipe them out? Like, I don't blame, I don't blame these Palestinians for being pissed at these Zionist Israelis.
Over 1,200 innocent people, babies, parents, grandparents, slaughtered in their kibbutz, massacred at a music festival.
What?
That's not,
music festival.
Wait a
What?
minute. I think wasn't that not true?
Yeah, I don't even understand what he said there.
Yeah, the
He's
music.
like,
Yeah.
The music festival. I don't know what that even referring to. It's like the music festival. That's what I understood.
Is that the one that Kanye West performed? I mean,
I don't know.
I mean, what is going on with this?
Yeah, I couldn't understand. The music festival. So I understood.
Right.
Because he just mumbled his way through it.
No, because I think he probably realized that music festival wasn't real. My understanding, it was not a real thing.
Oh, I don't. You see, I didn't even hear about that. So that's why I'm like, music festival.
So part of the early attacks, so real quick, part of the early attacks was that there was a music festival, and I think somebody famous performing, and they were attacking the music festival, bombing the music. So the other group with the H. But my understanding is that they reported that the kids was running because of something else. So it was an old festival. An old concert, clips from an old concert that something happened, but it has nothing to do with being attacked. So, yeah.
Well, I'm not sure. I wouldn't be surprised if that's just bullcrap because everything when it comes down to this has been bullcrap.
Right.
All right, so let's hear out.
It's a little bit to be a devil advocate here, unless you're really dumb. I'm sorry, but dang.
Let's see what else Biden has to say. See if I understand him or not.
Assaulted. Thousands more carrying wounds, bullets and shrapnel from the memory of that terrible day they endured. Hundreds
really
taken hostage.
Hell?
including survivors of the Shoah. Now, here we are, not 75 years later, but just 7.5 months later, and people are already forgetting. They're already forgetting.
They're already
Hamas
forgetting.
Unleashed this terror.
Hamas.
It was
Hamas, right? Not
that
Palestine.
brutalized Israelis.
Hamas.
Right.
It was Hamas.
It was Hamas,
Took
right?
and
Not
continues
Palestine.
Uh-huh.
to hold hostages. I have not forgotten, nor have you.
Okay.
We will not forget.
No, we won't forget that Hamas did this.
Right. And don't forget the 13,000 that Palestinian died looking for Hamas.
Yeah, Hamas did this. So, like, it's not like we actually did this, and it's not like we did this. It's Hamas. Hamas.
New version of G.I. Joe coming up soon. G.I. Joe versus Hamas. Wow.
So, let's see.
Not even Hamas. They'll probably call it Hobra. Hobra. Yo, I tell you.
So we have all of Congress being like pro-Israel and pro-Zionist in particular. So let's here we go. So we're going to see this congressman in particular. He claims, this is Brian Mast, kick the shit out of Hamas, says legless congressman. So this is Code Pink has confronted this congressman. Oops, why is that there? So this is Brian Mast. He wants Hamas to kick the shit. He wants Israel to kick the shit out of Hamas. So let's see this.
Now that Hamas has agreed to a ceasefire, do you think Israel should agree?
I think Israel should go in there and kick the shit out of them. Just absolutely.
He wants Israel to kick the shit out of Hamas. Whatever that means.
Destroy them.
Okay. Right.
Their infrastructure.
Destroy them.
Anything that they touch. Clear enough?
Congressman, the world is calling for a ceasefire. You used to say if Hamas won't agree to a ceasefire. Hamas had just agreed. It was a proposal put forward by Egypt, Qatar. CIA Director William Burns has been there negotiating.
You know what? If there's an American held or somebody else being held, there should be every expectation that Americans come and kill them as well. If there's an American being held, we should go kill the people that are holding them.
Why are you so hateful?
He's like, oh yeah, you hold an American, we should kill them. And meanwhile, kill the American is also hold them because it's ridiculous.
Right.
It's not hateful.
It is because
Wow.
people are Palestinian, my people, with our tax dollars. And you saying that everything.
Associate themselves with
Terrorists, I guess. You shouldn't associate yourself with terrorists. What do you expect? I mean, yeah, we're gonna kill you,
Right.
Ridiculous. Just like, oh yeah, fuck you, Oh, you associate with terrorists, you get to die.
We keep saying to you,
Israel is the terrorist.
Palestinian Islamic
Israel is the
Al
terrorist.
Aqsa Martyrs Brigade, Lions Den, Fatah, all those terrorist
we
organizations.
say to you every single time, majority of people are children. They're the ones that are bearing the brunt.
Just because you say it doesn't make it true, though, which is what you
believe that
constantly.
it's children?
Let me say this very clearly. I literally don't believe a word that you say.
Well, I think that you are a heartless, soulless, cruel man. And today is Holocaust
From you.
Remembrance
Yeah, I don't believe a word you say. Yeah, they're not actually children, I mean,
I mean, that dude.
he's a motherfucker, and he's a Democrat too. I think Brian Mast is a Democrat.
my people, Jewish people. And I am saying, as a Jew, we said never again, and it's happening now. We say
You are
never
so
Take care.
hateful and disgusting. It's a shame. You are a crime against humanity.
So
I
yeah,
mean-
that's Brian Mast, congressional representative.
Yeah, we got to find out what's going on there. Oh, I appreciate the little feedback and the saying hello from Kitty, and Stephanie. What's
Yeah,
going on?
Welcome everybody. Make sure you give me a like and subscribe.
So
but
this
yeah,
guy
I mean-
is getting full medical benefits to get those legs, and he still can't walk straight. I'm bugged.
Yeah, I mean he's getting straight up everything he needs. Yeah, he's a I think he's an Iraq War veteran or something. He's a veteran in one of the wars, but that's
Yeah.
why I don't remember which war exactly. But he's a veteran
But
in one of the wars. For
but you
sure.
know what's the funny thing, right? So he goes, yeah, I believe it was the Gulf War. So
Mhm.
he's like, if Americans was captured, we should go after the terrorists. Last time I checked, Iraq was not a terrorist. They were not attacking us,
Yeah.
right? Why not go after Saudi
No.
Arabia if that's the case?
In Saudi Arabia, we're the one.
Right.
18 of the 21 hijackers were Saudi, but meanwhile, we attacked Iraq and Afghanistan.
Right. And Vietnam, right? I never heard of
And other-
Vietnamese. You know what I mean? I'm just saying.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Yeah, well, I mean, Israel's always the U.S. is, and of course, people constantly, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. Israel doesn't control the U.S. Blah 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 blah. So this is a report, a ABC report from 1988, talking about AIPAC. This is from 1988. Even at that time, AIPAC was very powerful. They were unseating Jewish senators if they're not 100% loyal to Israel. Listen to the gaslighting from AIPAC rep and how the senators felt at the time. So this is Mike Wallace from, I think, ABC News at the time. So
inside their headquarters. Inside this building are the headquarters of AIPAC, the American Israel Public Affairs Committee. They would not let us photograph inside their headquarters. AIPAC says it is the spearhead for support for Israel here in Washington.
Oh.
It is
By
not
the way, I was 2 years old when this was recorded, but just
a political action committee. It does not make campaign contributions. But the clout of AIPAC here on Capitol Hill is legendary.
Practically every congressman and senator says his prayers to the AIPAC lobby. No, they've done an enormous job of corrupting the American democratic process.
George Ball was number 2 in the State Department under Presidents Kennedy and Johnson, and he has never been reluctant to criticize the pro-Israel lobby.
It's the most effective lobby in the United States today, and I would put that ahead.
In 1988, he said that AIPAC was the most effective lobby in the U.S., which is true today. It's just not in 1988, just like it was in 1988.
And you know what's crazy? They play both sides.
Mm-hmm.
Both sides.
The American Israel PAC. That's what AIPAC is, and they were effective in 1988, like they are today, in 2024.
Ahead of the National Rifle Association.
What's wrong with picking a candidate to support on the basis of the way that he has voted? Isn't that the American way?
I think it's a caricature of the American way.
I think
the word power when it's used for AIPAC.
I think my headphones are too close to the mic, so let me try moving my mic a little bit.
Angel was about to start freestyling with the mic. I'm like, okay. Wait a minute.
Yeah, apparently
It's a myth.
my mic is popping. So yeah, hopefully me not getting too close to the mic will help.
It's baloney. AIPAC is powerful only because the American people are behind Israel.
Rabbi Israel Miller is the vice president of AIPAC. AIPAC is not anti-Chafee.
No, AIPAC has put on the public record his votes on some of the issues that concern us, but we deal with a very politically aware and sophisticated group of people, the pro-Israel community, and they make up their own minds. If we were
You don't direct them.
We do not direct them.
Let me
Bullshit.
read to you a memo, an AIPAC memo, November 3rd, 1987.
This is an AIPAC memo.
Senate race. Lieutenant Governor Richard Leach, Democrat, Rhode Island, is running against incumbent Senator John Chafee, Republican. Leach, who is Jewish, has a very good chance. Our problem is that the pro-Israel community is not excited and as forthcoming as they should be. We need to put the word out on this race, emphasizing Chafee's poor record. The focus should be to generate interest for a terrific candidate to replace a poor supporter on our issue. See attached voting record and Marty's analysis.
Oops.
It's an AIPAC memo.
Who signed
It's an AIPAC memo. They were trying to replace the senator. And this is Mike Wallace. He was an actual reporter at the time.
Right,
He's
right.
like, oh, yeah, here's evidence, that you were trying to replace a senator who was not 100% pro-Israel. So how do you explain this?
Right. And Mike Wallace looked the same from 88 to 68. He doesn't change, right?
Yeah, he didn't.
Great reporter, though.
Yeah, he was a real reporter, and he's like, "Oh yeah, what about this?" It's like, "Oh well, let's just ignore this, and let's watch what he actually reacts."
I don't recognize it as an AIPAC memo.
Well, I don't recognize it as an AIPAC memo. Come on, man. I don't recognize an AIPAC memo.
What is going on? What?
Oh shit! You
Wow.
actually, this is 1988, where reporters were still somewhat did a good job.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, this is before that. You know why they did a good job? Because this was before cable, right? So
Yeah.
one thing would be, well, I take it back. Cable did exist, but not. We're talking about before CNN, Fox News, obviously. So they had to report, right? They had to.
Yeah.
You know.
He's like, I don't recognize this as an actual AIPAC memo.
Right.
You
Wow.
know, yeah. Don't question me on this.
Look at his face, though. Look at his face, like,
yeah, I'm fucked. You know, it's like one of those faces.
Rabbi Miller continued.
In this case, I think all that was being said was that Leach has a chance against an incumbent senator.
Who has a poor record. And we got to get the word out.
His record is not as poor as some other senators.
Shortly after that interview, AIPAC confirmed that the memo was in fact written by a former AIPAC political staffer.
Oops.
But
They had to admit to it. Oh, yeah, we wrote this memo, you know what I mean? Blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, we wrote this memo, but yeah, please don't question us on this anymore.
They insisted she was a low-level employee and that her memo did not reflect AIPAC policy.
See, it was a low-level employee that did not reflect AIPAC's policy, even though it was an AIPAC employee that wrote the memo.
Wow.
You see how that works? I mean, I wish that there were reporters like this in today, but there isn't.
Right. Nah.
And that's important for AIPAC because under U.S. federal election regulations, if it were shown that pro-Israel PACs were working in conjunction with AIPAC or were coordinated by AIPAC, that would arguably be a violation of the law. Well, shortly before...
even today is a violation of the law, but we all ignored the law, did it?
This broadcast, 60 Minutes received in the mail from an anonymous sender another memo written by a high-level AIPAC official, Liz Schreier, in which she urged a colleague to make certain that several pro-Israel PACs around the country funnel cash contributions to a handful of senatorial candidates. AIPAC officials acknowledged to us the
This
memo
is 60
was
minutes? That
an
shit don't
AIPAC
sound like
document.
60 minutes anymore.
Yeah, this is... Mike Wallace, you know, did a report for 60 Minutes, but there's no way this would be on
this
today.
would have never, it wouldn't fly at all. At all.
Not today, yeah.
Unless
there's no way this would fly.
Unless if your name is Ray Epps. I'm interested to know what you say, Ray Epps.
Vince McMahon's evil mustache says, Kurt, no matter what, I'm getting off. Okay.
Nah, he I want to challenge. Well, they want to challenge us. Can't take me in the ring. Okay, all right.
Yeah, it's like I was 2 years old. I wish that there were this type of reporters working for CBS today, and there isn't. It's like Mike Wallace or what was the other reporter? Why am I forgetting his name? The one who reported. Damn.
Wait, are you talking about which one? The black gentleman you're talking about with the mustache?
No,
Are you still there?
Cronkite. Cronkite.
Oh, dang! You're taking it way back.
Yeah. I mean, Mike Wallace and Walter Cronkite and all those reporters, you know, who actually did real reporting. But it's like, no, not today. You know what I mean? Today it's like we get these news models, you know, these good-looking people, you know, like, and they have their teleprompter and their suit and their ties, like, oh well, you know, we wouldn't dare go after Israel, you know, like the way Mike Wallace did here.
Yeah.
But they declined to answer any questions about it.
They didn't answer
said
any
in
questions.
A statement that despite appearances to the contrary, AIPAC does not have the power to direct fundraising decisions.
No, AIPAC doesn't have the power to direct fundraising, except that's what they do.
Right.
Even in 1988, that's what they did.
Yeah, both sides. What's going on with that?
Let's see. I stand up for a lot of people. Vince McMahon's mustache is like, okay, I'm sure you do.
Other senatorial candidates in current races with what pro-Israel PACs call poor records on Israel. Well, for instance, this year, many pro-Israel PACs are trying to defeat incumbent Senator Chick Hecht of Nevada, even though he is Jewish, because he too did not follow the...
So this guy's a Jewish senator at the time, but he wasn't Zionist enough for AIPAC, so they were trying to defeat him. even though he's a Democrat and he's Jewish.
Right.
Ironic, isn't it? It's like a Jewish PAC is trying to defeat a Jewish senator because he wasn't pro-Zionist enough.
Mm-hmm.
Unbelievable.
Follow the AIPAC line on weapons sales to the Arabs. And there are many who charge that AIPAC, with its sights set only on Israel, is just too demanding of U.S. politicians.
We aren't demanding of U.S. politicians.
No, we aren't demanding of them. What are you talking about? we want them to do exactly what we tell them to do. But
Yeah, he's doing right. He's the original Dr. Evil. Like, no.
No, we aren't that demanding. I mean, we just want them to do exactly what we tell them to do.
Right. Wow.
We have a concern about Israel, which is understandable, particularly in this generation. Had you and I been in certain parts of Europe, we would have walked to Auschwitz together. We're very sensitive about the security, about the future of Israel.
That's the only thing that...
Okay. And support of Israel means that we feel that it is in the interest not merely of Israel, but also in the interest of the United States. Israel
not only in the interest of the United States, but the interest of Israel. I'll get to there's a letter that Republican senators sent to the ICC about possible indictments against Netanyahu and his crew of government. How upset they are about that. But that letter was unhinged and ridiculous. But we'll get to that in a minute.
Israel is a strategic ally of the United States.
In recent years, AIPAC and the pro-Israel PACs have helped defeat, among others, Congressman Paul Findlay and Pete McCloskey.
So these are two congressmen that were defeated by AIPAC at the time, and this one too, I think.
Senators Harrison Schmitt of New Mexico,
defeated.
Walter Huddleston of Kentucky, and Chuck Percy of Illinois. Like Senator Chafee, Percy too came out in favor of that sale of AWACS to the Saudis.
I finally reached the stage where, as chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee, I saw our foreign policy totally turned around. With a Muslim world, 800 million people looking askance at the United States of America, what is happening? Who is running the foreign policy? Can Israel and the Prime Minister have more power than the entire Senate of the United States or the President of the United States? And that, to me, I simply said, enough is enough.
The answer is yes. They had more power.
Right. And you know what I peeped? So
Uh-huh.
I peeped. So that's 1988. Obviously, a lot of white men running the country. I see.
Yeah.
So I'm only thinking, right, that that maybe a lot of people thought that creating the squad would be that thing where you could squash white men from taking this AIPAC money. But then last time I checked, there was people that are colorful in Congress that they get in the AIPAC money. You know, like Richie Torres.
Yeah.
Just interesting.
Yeah, it's even today, you know, this applies today just as much as it did in 1988.
Right.
This was I think
we got colorful people though.
Yeah. It's just people are darker today in Congress than they were back in 1988, but it's the same thing.
Right.
We're basically in the same situation.
That particular AWACS sale to Saudi Arabia did manage to pass the Congress. And in 1984, pro-Israel PACs and other individuals spent millions to unseat the powerful Senator Percy.
Let me just quote to you the words of the executive director of AIPAC, Tom Dyer. After the defeat of Chuck Percy a few years back, he said to a Jewish group in Toronto, quote, all the Jews in America from coast to coast against Percy, and American politicians, those who hold public positions now, and those who aspire, got the message.
See, after we defeated Percy, the guy who passed the bill to help the Saudis, that we hope that the rest of the senators got their message. So in other words, it's like, oh yeah, if you don't do what we tell you to do, we'll defeat you just like we did Percy, that senator who helped pass that bill to help the Saudis. He's like,
It was an unfelicitous expression of that which Tom felt in his enthusiasm and in his... He had it to say all over again. He would have put it altogether differently.
He would have put it differently if Mike Wallace didn't get this letter, we would have put it differently. Trust me.
Wait a minute, I think we got caught up by Angel. No, where are you? But I saw, interesting video on that one. It's just funny how he was just mentioning that the people in Congress, even to this day, even if they put the squad or whatever the case might be, it's still a big difference. So
Yeah.
like, all right, I kind of figure, I'm like, all right, let me pick it up from here. Andrew, welcome back.
Yeah, I'm back. My computer just suddenly crashed on me for no reason. So sorry about that. Let's see whether I can get back to where we were at.
Yeah.
You see, my Chromebook's giving me issues again. So it's like, whoops.
Got you. Hey, listen, they don't speak Jewish, I guess.
Nope. Let's see. Psst, bear with me 1 second while I get back here.
I want to bring this up, Angel. Because I've heard this a lot of times, that if it's not Israel, the Middle East would not be. If it's not for Israel, that the Middle East would not be stable. I guess we could have that conversation after this interview.
Oh yeah.
What's your take on that? I don't know if you want to talk about it now.
Yeah. I mean, let's finish this first. I'm trying.
Yeah, make it happen.
This isn't playing now. Wow.
Yeah, reload the browser if anything and just go back.
Yeah, I may have to reload this. Bear with me 1 second, everybody.
No, but that's fine. Yeah, but that's crazy. How 1988. I mean, but you know what's crazy? So I grew up in the Bronx.
The American.
Right? A lot of people. I'm pretty sure, like back in the Bronx, because we're talking about like a lot of people were very what's the guy's name? Pro Louis Farrakhan.
Yeah.
So a lot of people in the projects in the Bronx, in the hood, or whatever the case might be, they always mention the same thing, and they probably didn't even know who the hell was AIPAC. They just knew somebody was out there from that side doing some dirt.
Yeah. It's let's see that. I'm pretty sure this is the right spot.
Israel army. How did AIPAC become so powerful?
Yeah.
Again,
how did AIPAC become so powerful? Well, I mean,
hello.
That's very flattering, but it's a myth.
Oh wow.
It's just not so.
You really went
The American people support Israel, and therefore Congress votes
white
as
America.
it does.
One of Israel's staunchest supporters is Senator Daniel Inouye of Hawaii, who says that...
By the way, Senator Inouye was around until very recently. This is a senator from Hawaii. I'm not sure he's still alive or he passed away, but he was a senator from Hawaii for decades. He started in the 1980s and he was around until very recently. And he was a staunch supporter of Israel, even until let me see. Dan, hold on. Bear with me 1 second. I'm gonna look this guy up.
Well, can we get a hell yeah from the chat that we need some term limits? Like seriously, we need some term limits for Congress and senators.
Yeah. So he was.
Wow.
He died in 2012. So he was senator until his death in 2012. He was a staunch supporter of Israel. He was senator from 1963 until his death in 2012.
Well, a staunch supporter of Israel or the money?
Well, yeah, he was a senator from 1963 to 2012 until he died from Hawaii. But yeah, he was a major supporter of Israel. So I know because I remember this guy when back during the Obama administration, when Obama was trying to kind of maybe control Israel. He's like, how dare you?
Right.
He's a Democrat. He was a Democrat too.
Of course.
Says that AIPAC has nothing to do with his feelings about Israel.
If I can help Israel, or...
No, AIPAC nothing to do with my feelings on Israel. No even though they gave me millions of dollars, but yeah.
Wow.
Help yourself. In every instance, I do so. I'm also convinced it's in our national interest. I've yet to
protecting Israel somehow in U.S.'s national interest never made sense to me, but nonetheless.
Well, we'll talk about
in that part of
the
world that is as reliable as far as our strategic requirements are concerned as Israel is.
I don't believe it's an ally at all. We have no alliance with it. I mean, they insist on total freedom of action, and they insist on our subsidizing their total freedom of action.
The amount of that subsidy is remarkable and a testament to AIPAC's clout on Capitol Hill. Altogether, Israel gets more than $3 billion a year in assistance.
At the time, $3 billion in assistance. A lot of money in 1988. Today, that's like Today's number is in the hundreds of billions, not just
Right.
3 billion. But yeah, in 1988, $3 billion a year is a lot of fucking money.
And that's
Resistance from
that's money counting. We're not talking about money that maybe is dark. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was just the regular money. That's not the dark money that APAC, controls. And even 1988. Let's see. I missed some in the chat. Chromebooks are cheap. Yes, I mean, me and Steph had a private conversation about how cheap Chromebooks are. I know, but that's the only computers that I can afford for now. So that's why I deal with it. But I'm really annoyed with this Chromebook.
From the United States.
Sometimes they vote through without a single debate involving billions of dollars. You couldn't spend that kind of money in this country without a huge debate going on.
Exactly. You couldn't spend that's like $3 billion in those days without a huge debate and discussion. Oh, Israel needs $3 billion? Oh, absolutely. Give it to them immediately. There's no question. Don't ask any questions about that.
But a foreign government gets this money without debate because simply it's just organized to get it.
Why does Israel get more aid, more U.S. aid, than any other country in the world? $700 per Israeli, as opposed to $50 per Egyptian per year.
That's the $1 million question. Mike Wallace asked an extra question. Why does Israel get that much aid compared to any other country on earth? Like it's $700 per Israeli, apparently, even in 1988. Today is like triple that, probably, or quadruple that. But again, it's like where are these reporters today asking these questions? Nowhere. I don't see a single reporter asking any tough questions of the U.S. government today.
No, they started talking about fashion.
$2.
Yeah, they're talking about, Trump. Trump is a fascist. Trump's a fascist, right? That's what we're talking about today. We're not talking about how trillions of dollars somehow goes from the U.S. to Israel for no reason. Oh, we're talking about, certain bombs the Biden administration is blocking. Not all the aid, certain bombs, it's ridiculous.
Per African per year.
None of this money goes for the $700 goes to raise the living standard of Israeli people.
That's not true. Israelis get free healthcare because of our taxpayer money. They got single payer healthcare because of us. Meanwhile, we can't get single payer healthcare here in the U.S. But they get single payer healthcare because of our money. It had nothing to do with we don't. Israelis actually don't benefit. Well, that's bullshit. Yes, they do. And I would be fine if we assisted Israelis as long as we get single payer first and we get all the assistance we need first, and then we want to help other countries, whatever. But no, we get dick. But meanwhile, Israelis get everything. Not just for the military, but for their single payer health care and for their for whatever else they need. They get everything. Americans get nothing.
This is for their defense. This is for the city of Israel. If Israel were stabilized, the Arabs, with all of their petrodollars and with all of their weapons, would just sweep Israel into the sea.
Is there a possibility of a backlash if Israel is perceived as too powerful in the halls of government here in Washington?
There's always this possibility if people begin to believe that little Israel is calling the shots. And I'm certain Americans would resent that. They won't want any country, big or small.
Yes, we do resent that. Even in 1988 they did, and even especially today, we definitely resent that.
All to be calling the shots in the Congress of the United States. But I don't think that AIPAC is calling the shots as far as I'm concerned.
Bullshit. They're definitely calling the shots, AIPAC. Even in 1988.
New York City, Diamond District.
Even today, they're calling the shots. But 1988, that's also true. I don't think they're calling the shots. Come on, man. I have some I have some power. No, you don't. You Daniel Inouye always did exactly what the Israel lobby told him to do. Let's just say that.
Is it common sense or cowardice on the part of senators who just don't want to talk about this?
Oh, I would say the senators would say it's just being practical.
This past
That's the
week,
same
three
answer
major
as
Jewish
today.
organizations took.
Yeah, it's cowardice. They were afraid to send up to Israel because they didn't want to lose their seat. Meanwhile, this guy here, he lost his seat, but he had the balls or the cojones, whatever you want to use, to stand up to Israel, even if it meant losing a seat.
Right.
This past week, three major Jewish organizations took issue with AIPAC. The leaders of the American Jewish Committee, the American Jewish Congress, and the Anti-Defamation League of B'nai B'rith asserted in a letter to the president of AIPAC that...
Get a load of that. The Anti-Defamation League was trying to stand up to AIPAC. Today, the ADL does exactly what AIPAC tells it to do. What a difference 30 years makes.
AIPAC does not speak by the consensus of the organized Jewish community. And in a CBS News poll of 1,530 American adults 2 weeks ago, we asked, do you think that in order to preserve the security of Israel, the U.S. should give Israel more aid than it gives any other country? 13% said yes. 72% said no.
Holy shit.
15% said they don't know.
You hear that poll just now, guys? This is of 1988.
The U.S. should give Israel more aid. 130 American adults 2 weeks ago.
Rewind. Let's go.
AIPAC does
I gotta hear
not
that
speak
again.
by the consensus of the organized Jewish community.
Listen to this poll, guys.
And in a CBS News poll of
CBS
1,530 American adults 2 weeks ago, we asked,
1,500 Americans were asked this in 1988.
do you think that in order to preserve the security of Israel, the U.S. should give Israel more aid than it gives any other country?
So this get a load of this.
15% said yes. 72% said no.
15% only said yes, that we need to give money to Israel. In 1988. 75% said no, right? Hold on.
Said yes. 72% said no. 15% said they don't know.
So that was 60 Minutes in 1988. 72% of Americans said no, that we should not be giving this much aid to Israel. In 1988. So Americans knew, even 1988, this was bullshit.
And you know that the funny thing and what's interesting about that, you know, growing up in the Bronx with a lot of black people and Latinos and all that, the consensus was probably go like 95%. They don't agree. Probably more than that. Go figure.
Yeah, I didn't watch this whole thing until now. I was like, holy shit! Even in 1988, like Americans knew that Israel getting that much money, $3 billion a year, which is a lot of money in '88, was bullshit. I mean, they somehow knew, but we didn't know. Today, people act like, well, I mean, come on, it's up. Israel needs the money, right?
You know, and the funny thing is that there's people. I remember I was having a talk years ago with one of my brothers in arms in regards to this situation. And I said, you know, once again, United States doesn't spend that much money on the infrastructure. I know their response was like, you know, it's probably going to take, you know, a long time. And I'm like, if we could go back to even 1988, $3 billion, you could start the process of addressing the infrastructure in the United States with $3 billion back then.
Yeah.
Fix a couple of highways, that's for sure.
Oops. Hold on a second. Here we go. Yeah, I mean the idea that this is just absurd. So this is the letter that I was talking about earlier. Because as we all know, there's the Israel or the International Criminal Court is considering filing war crime charges against Netanyahu and the high-ranking officials of the Israeli government, of the Zionist Israeli government. So Republicans, they decided to pen a letter to the International Criminal Court, and basically they melted down. So I'm going to read you this letter in the most entertaining way that I can. So just bear with me 1 second, but it's important, which is why I'm going to...
Are you doing the Darth Vader voice? Cool.
Well, I'm going to try. I can't promise that. Mr. Kareem A.A. Khan, KC, Office of the Prosecutor, International Criminal Court, blah, 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 The Hague, the Netherlands. Dear Mr. Khan, we write regarding the reports of the International Criminal Court may be considering issuing international arrest warrants against Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and other Israeli officials. Such actions are illegitimate and lack legal basis, and if carried out will result in severe sanctions against you and your institution. Again, here immediately the threats. The ICC is attempting to punish Israel for taking legitimate actions of self-defense against their Iranian-backed aggressors. Oh, by the way, any evidence for that? No, not really. We're just going to say Iranian back because they're the bad guys. In fact, your own words, you witness scenes of calculated cruelty conducted by Hamas in Israel following the October 7th attacks. These arrest warrants will align the ICC with the largest state sponsor of terrorism and its proxy. To be clear, there are no moral equivalents between Hamas's terrorism and Israel's justified response. The ICC is also prohibited by its charter from proceeding in any case unless the relevant government is unwilling or unable to police themselves. Oh, let me finish reading this. You yourself said that Israel has trained lawyers who advise commanders and a robust system intended to ensure compliance with international humanitarian law. Here's the thing: Israel's unwilling to police themselves. It's clear over and over again that Netanyahu continues to commit war crimes and he continues to bomb innocents. So even with ICC's own charter, they have the right, they have the jurisdiction to go after Netanyahu because they're unwilling to police themselves. Excuse me. By issuing warrants, you will be calling into question the legitimacy of Israel laws, legal system, and democratic form of government. You're not a democracy, but Netanyahu been in power for decades. But nonetheless, they claim is democratic. Issuing arrest warrants for the leaders of Israel will not only be unjustified, it will expose your organization's hypocrisy and double standards. Your office does not issue arrest warrants for Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khomeini, or any other Iranian official, Syrian President Bashar al-Assad, or any Syrian official, or Hamas leader Ismail, whatever that name is, or any other Hamas official, nor have you issued an arrest warrant for the genocidal General Secretary of the People's Republic of China, Xi Jinping, or any other Chinese official. Have they been accused of war crimes or anything like that? My guess is no. I haven't heard anything about that. They're not been accused of crimes. So why in the world would they be indicted or charged with any crime? I don't know, but it's like it's desperation. Like, oh well, don't look at Netanyahu. Look at all them, all the other bad guys we named. They committed crimes. Finally, neither Israel nor the United States are members of the ICC. There's hypocrisy there. I'll explain that when I finish this letter. And they're therefore outside of your organization's supposed jurisdiction. If you issue a warrant for the arrest of the Israeli leadership, we will interpret this not only as a threat to Israel's sovereignty, but to the sovereignty of the United States. Wait a minute. So how is the ICC going after Israel somehow a threat to the sovereignty of the United States? I want the chat or maybe you can explain that. I'm mind boggled by that.
Right.
Uh,
What does that mean? What's going on over there? What?
are we the United States of Israel? Because last time I checked, we're the United States of America.
Right.
I mean, like it's not a threat to U.S.'s sovereignty at all. You can argue it's a threat to Israel's sovereignty, but I don't agree. But you can make that argument. You cannot argue that somehow it's a threat to the United States' sovereignty. That makes no sense. Our country demonstrated in the American Service Members Protection Act the lengths we will go to protect that sovereignty. The American Members Protection Act basically allows the U.S. military or the president to invade the Netherlands in order to break out any American that is in jail at The Hague. So if there's ever an American that was arrested by The Hague in order to prosecute them, the U.S. military would be allowed legally to invade the country in order to get that American out. So that's what this is basically a threat. Is that, oh yeah, if you even dare arrest any Israeli official, we will invade you in order to get that Israeli official out of jail. The United States will not tolerate politicized attacks with the ICC on our allies. Target Israel and we will target you. Let's see. Target Israel will target you. If you move forward with the measures indicated in the report, we will move to end all American support of the ICC, sanction your employees and associates, and bar you and your families from the United States. You have been warned. So that's the letter. Let's see. So let's see. Tom Cotton signed it. Mitch McConnell, Marsha Blackburn, Katie Boyd Britt. Ted Budd, Kevin Kramer, Bill Haggerty, Ted Cruz, Pete Ricketts, Marco Rubio, Rick Scott, Tim Scott. So these are the 10 senators who signed the letter. These are 10 Republican senators who signed the letter, basically, threatening the ICC. But here's the hypocrisy, which I'm going to explain real quick. Remember when the ICC indicted Vladimir Putin for his alleged war crimes? You do know that Russia isn't a party to the International Criminal Court either, right? They're not a party to it. Neither is Israel. Neither is the United States. But at the time, U.S. officials were like, "Oh yeah, the ICC, they did a great job in indicting Vladimir Putin for crimes he committed." But the Russia isn't a party to the ICC. So, but when Israel isn't a party to the ICC, and they all of a sudden they've been considering indictments, here comes the U.S. to melt down and talk about, "Oh yeah, well we'll invade you and we'll take any Israeli official out of your jails in order to protect them." Well, what happened with Russia? They're not a party to the ICC either. They didn't sign the what was it, the Rome Decree or the Rome Treaty, whatever that was, that it created the ICC. I mean, they're not party to this either. So why is all of a sudden why is it okay to indict Russians, but it's not okay to indict Israelis or Americans? See the hypocrisy there?
That's why I always say Operation. What's the name of that operation of after World War II? Damn, I can't believe I made a podcast
Mockingbird?
on it. Right. It's an Operation Mockingbird like 3.0 again. It's the Russians.
Yeah, it's okay to indict. Russia. The ICC indicted Russia for alleged war crimes. Allegedly, Putin and the Russians were kidnapping children and doing bad things to them. But later it turns out that, oh yeah, they were, taking children into Russia in order to protect them from the war in Ukraine, which ultimately is it's a altruistic act. It didn't require an indictment from the ICC, but the ICC is doing the bidding of the U.S. at the time. So it was like, oh yeah, what a great job the ICC did. All of a sudden, they're considering going after Israel. Oh, you don't have any jurisdiction, and look at how horrible you are. This, that, and the third, and it's like, but they didn't have any jurisdiction over the Russians either. But you all clapped and cheered, talking about what a great job, the ICC did.
I remember that.
Hypocrites. Just
wow.
The hypocrisy knows no bounds. So these 10 Republican senators signed the letter. They're all hypocrites. They're all scumbags, especially Ted Cruz. I can't stand Ted Cruz. He'll win re-election, though. I guarantee you. I mean, he's running for re-election again. He'll win. He's in Texas. There's no way he's going to lose. But that's it.
Yeah, I think the only spot that he loses in Texas is Austin, because Austin, it's the a very, very liberal.
Oh, that's Austin. It's very liberal part of Texas there, and Dallas too. Dallas seems to be pretty liberal, but the rest of the state is pretty conservative still. So chances are we're gonna have Ted Cruz in the Senate another 6 years.
Right.
And don't be surprised he runs for president again one day, especially if Trump gets out of the way.
Right.
Vince McMahon's evil mustache says, "My boy Trump will help me out. He did appoint my beard."
Yeah, Trump ain't gonna help, man. Trump, he's part of the whole thing. It's like I was telling a couple of people. If you know the gentleman, the CEO of BlackRock, Larry Fink, who happened to be one of the Democrats' big donors.
Yeah.
He living here in New York City, he's one of Trump's buddies. So go figure that one out. So you got a Democrat big donor and Larry Fink. For those that don't know, though, BlackRock is a financial firm, and he's Jewish, right?
Yeah.
Financial firm that owns like $15 trillion of assets or something to that effect.
Very powerful.
Right. The guy's Democrat donor, but buddies with Trump. So for those Trumpers out there, and
we have Dr. Phil went to Israel to interview Netanyahu, which is very interesting that Netanyahu would give Dr. Phil the time of day. But here we go. So I have a couple clips of this interview, so we'll watch this and react to it.
Anti-Semitic activity has gone up 360% in America since October 7th, and it was already high.
So anti-Semitic rhetoric or whatever went up 360% since October 7th, allegedly. I don't really buy what Dr. Phil is selling here. Let me read.
Anti-Semitic activity has gone up 360% in
Anti-Semitic activity. What does that mean? Going 360%. I don't know where he got this stat from. Maybe Dr. Phil pulled it out of his ass, but nonetheless, let's see what he says here.
America since October 7th, and it was already high before October.
Anti-Semitism already high in the U.S. Any evidence for that, or are we just going to suck up to Netanyahu? I don't.
Well, maybe
I
he
don't
was
know.
watching 60 Minutes poll and said, well, because 75% of Americans are not for that $3 billion, he probably said, well, maybe that means that they're all anti-Semitic. No, it doesn't mean that, Phil.
Yeah, I mean, when I came across this today, I was shocked that that Netanyahu gave Dr. Phil a time of day. This is why he's sucking up to him. That's why.
Or October 7th, and it's gone up 360%. Why?
Well, because I think it's a fusion.
Why is anti-Semitism going up in America, sir? So this is Netanyahu's answer.
Of radical Islam and the ultra anarchist left. It's fusing together. The only thing they
Ultra anarchist left. I don't know what that means, but they're ultra anarchists. The left wing in this country that wants to stop a genocide, but they're ultra anarchists, according to Netanyahu.
agree on is that Israel has to be destroyed and America has to be destroyed. And that I think is something that you're right is rejected by the mainstream Americans. By the way, the polls bear you out. I mean, I see.
By the way, Netanyahu went to school in Pennsylvania, which is why he knows, his English is good.
This tracking poll by the Harvard-Harris tracking group, polling group, and they show this, and they show 80% of Americans, when you ask them, do you favor in this conflict Israel or Hamas, 80% say Israel, 20% say Hamas. It hasn't budged by a percent. It's just steady. And of course, you wouldn't know that because 90% of the coverage in the media is negative. I think
bullshit. A great majority of the coverage is positive towards Israel. What are you talking about? That's just bullshit.
Yeah, and that's a silly question. I hate when they bring Hamas. So again, what does the rest of the Palestinian has to do with anything?
That's bullshit.
Right.
It's like, oh, well, 80% of the coverage is against us. Bullshit. All the coverage is 100% of the coverage in U.S. media is pro-Israel.
Right.
Like, what are you talking about? The only anti-Israel coverage is on the independent media, left, and that's very few people as it is. Most, it's like most media, 99.9%, let's say, is pro-Israel. And then Steph says, Angel, I have an old HP if you want it. I'll put a new hard drive in it, 8 gigs of RAM. That would be great, Steph. I have no money to give you, but I would appreciate, if you would do anything to help me because this Chromebook is the shits and it just crashed on me again. But
I'm gonna have to get Steph a year's supply of water on your behalf, Angel.
I appreciate it. Look, whatever help anybody gives me, I appreciate it. I'm between jobs right now. I'm in between jobs right now, and it's things are tough, but I'll continue doing the show the best way I can and pro wrestling talk tomorrow night. But let's see. Let's continue finishing this.
I think by and large, the American people understand what the terrorists say, what these Hamas and Iran say about us. They say Israel is a small America. We are you and you are us. Now that's why they hate us both. And in many ways, I think the majority of Americans across most of the political divide understand this. And I'm grateful for that support, obviously.
He's grateful for the support, even though he just said that most of the media is anti-Israel. But, but he's grateful for the support of Americans, I guess. But even to be fair, polling has, most Americans in favor of Israel, but they don't, most Americans don't pay attention to the news the way that we do. and they don't know what's going on. Ultimately, they say, "Well, Israel, Israel is a country, and they were attacked by Hamas, so yes, I favor Israel." That's really as simple as it gets. They don't actually look into the issue because they don't. It's not like Americans are dumb; they just don't have the time to look into it the way that I do or we do here in this space. We have the time. We're kind of nerdy in that sense, but yeah, most Americans have kids and they have jobs and they have to take their kids to babysitting or they work 3 jobs, so they don't have the time, and I don't fault them for that. But it's wrong. That's why these polls, these Americans are wrong about what Israel's not defending themselves. they they are they are the aggressors for the most part. So this is the second clip I have. Netanyahu admits security failures on October 7th, but dodges accountability. I hold myself and everyone on this. I think we have to examine how it happened and what was the intelligence failure, what was the military failure. So let's see how
There are
Netanyahu
some
explains himself here, because quite frankly, the U.S. warned him. The Egyptians warned him. There are plenty of countries that warned him about this attack, and he did nothing to stop it. Have we heard that before here in America? Yes, we have.
Oh yeah, 9/11.
Yes, we have. 9/11, exactly. They
Yep.
mentioned it. I was about to go there. Yeah, 9/11. With the
And
Bush
Pearl Harbor.
administration.
And
With the
my
Bush
understanding,
administration.
right?
He was
My
warned by
understanding.
he was warned by the CIA, the NSA,
Yes.
and even other countries was like Osama bin Laden is going to strike in the U.S. and like, well, let me. Oh, I mean, yeah, that's what Bush said basically. Let's do nothing. See what happens.
There are some people, including some Israeli people, that want an explanation for how October 7th happened. And some have given explanations, some in the military, some from the political side. Are they owed an explanation? Have you given an explanation to the people of your point of view?
I think we're going to have to give a thorough explanation. I think we're going to.
And you won't do it because ultimately, you're full power in Israel. Netanyahu has been the prime minister how long? For most of my lifetime. I mean, I remember him back in the 90s being around. I mean, that's how long I remember Benjamin Netanyahu being around.
We're going to have a thorough examination once the war ends. What happened?
Or the extermination ends. It's not a war, because Hamas and the Palestinians are not on equal footing with the Israelis. So it's not a war; it's an extermination.
And who made it happen? That's something that you have to do. But I think right now our goal is one: to achieve victory. We cannot, there's no substitute for victory. There is no substitute. We can get into this discussion, and we will. But right now, we have to win.
Was there a military failure here? Was there a political failure?
There were failures, obviously.
Yeah, well, there were failures. Yeah, obviously there were failures, but I'm not going to take responsibility for it.
The government's first responsibility is to protect the people. That's the ultimate enveloping responsibility.
Yeah, and you failed miserably.
And the people weren't protected. We have to admit that.
Do you hold yourself to that standard, that you failed in some way?
I hold myself in.
Well, I hold myself to some standard, which I'm not going to tell you, Dr. Phil, but I'm going to hold myself to a standard. Right?
On this, I think we have to examine how it happened. What was the intelligence failure? What was the military failure?
Yeah, look, come on, man. I mean, he acts like he's act like, well, I mean, come on. I mean, you can't hold me responsible.
Right.
It's the military. It's the Mossad, the intelligence agencies. It's the IDF, not me. Classic politician. It's like, well,
Right.
I mean, come on.
Whoa. No, I think somebody kind of passed them the George W. Bush script there. Well, we thought we had him, but maybe we didn't. But we need to act quick.
Yeah, it's goddamn absurd. It's like, really, dude?
Right.
I mean,
There are some people.
I don't have any more clips, but that's just I came across that today. I wasn't intending on. I didn't even know this interview happened. But yeah, let's get to our favorite queen, Hillary Clinton. I mean, I came across this
Wait a
the beginning
minute,
of the week.
Conversations as you have.
All hail Queen Clinton. She needs a good intro. What's up? Come on, Angel. What's the intro that we can do for her?
The Queen, Hillary
Oh, wait.
Clinton.
I need to put my finger up. You know, she's the table, the chief, right?
Uh-huh.
The tribal chief. Woo.
Yeah. Uh, so let's get to the Queen. She's going to criticize pro-Palestinian protesters and say many young people she's spoken to don't know much about what the history of the Middle East, frankly, about the histories of many areas in the world. In other words, she's going to proceed to call Gen Zers and young people in college stupid. So let's watch this.
I have had many conversations, as you have had, with a lot of young people over the last many months now. And you're right, they don't know very much at all about the history of the Middle East, or frankly about history in many areas.
No, they don't know. They don't know anything. They don't know
Right.
dick. You know, I mean, we have to educate them. You know, they're just college Gen Z dumbasses. You know, I mean, they just listen to what on the internet, and you know, they didn't pay attention in class. You know, I don't know. I mean, let's see what else he says here.
World, including in our own country. But with respect to the Middle East, they don't know that under the bringing together of the Israelis and the
you know, I don't know where she's going with this, but we'll see.
Palestinians by my husband,
That was
then
mean,
Israeli Prime Minister.
By my husband, the president. You will never be president, so I'm sure you're jealous about your husband being president. But
Ehud Barak, the then head of the Palestinian Liberation Organization, then the Palestinian Authority, Yasser Arafat. An offer was made to the Palestinians for a state on 96% of the existing territory occupied by the Palestinians, with 4% of Israel to be given to reach 100% of the amount of territory that was hoped for. And this offer was made.
I don't know much about that. To be fair, I'm not going to question. I assume she's lying, but I don't know much about that to actually, discuss it. But I will assume that it's not the way she said it because she's a liar. Because I don't trust Hillary Clinton. It's like, oh well, my husband offered the Palestinians 96% of the land that they had before. I don't buy that for a second, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't really know much about what happened in the 90s. I should probably educate myself on that. But honestly, guys, I don't know, so I can't give an opinion on that. But let's finish this up.
Was made, and if Yasser Arafat had accepted it, there would have been a Palestinian state now for about 24 years.
Yeah, I'm not buying that. She's such a smug liar that I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe she's right, and there would have been a Palestinian state. But most likely, I suspect she's lying. Let's see.
Yeah, a lot of things. My understanding is that a lot of times when they were making those offers, Angel, was basically telling the other Arab country, basically, kind of like the kind of like similar to what they did with Gaddafi. It's like, well, don't make nuclear weapons, don't do this. It's like you're telling everybody, don't do this, don't do that, but yet you're gonna arm Israel.
Yeah.
So it was one of those things. My understanding that it came down to one of those things where you want everybody to get on arm, but yet you, as the United States, want to continue to arm Israel. So people say, nah, you know what? I don't like this deal.
It's stupid. Hillary Clinton's going to complain some more on Morning Joe that this might be the last election in American history. So let's see, let's hear her fearmonger some more.
A determined demagogue, unfortunately supported by members of his political party, other enablers, people who care more about a future tax cut than the sanctity of the Constitution, are falling in line behind him. They are trying to excuse some of the most outrageous things that you just recited. And I don't think the press has done enough to basically say, okay, the circus is here. You can watch the circus, but let's tell you what that means. Let's talk to people who have a real understanding of how dictatorships evolve. Let's look at the people that he admires and what they've already done. You know, back in 2016, we didn't have interviews with him. We didn't have a track record of 4 years in office. You know, there was a lot of speculation, and, you know, I understood that people wouldn't take what I said necessarily as gospel about what I thought could happen. I get that. But now we know. We've seen him and we've heard him. And so we need to do a better job of making it absolutely clear that someone who says these things, you know, maybe he wouldn't jail all of his political opponents. One is one too many. Maybe he wouldn't try to force out of business the, you know, members of the press who didn't agree with him. One is one too many. We go down the line. And maybe this would be our last election. Because
Based on what?
someone who will not accept the validity of an election is someone who doesn't believe in elections. He believes in his own power, his own right to power, and his demand that he be installed regardless of whether he gets the votes or not.
There's no basis for any of this. Hillary Clinton's just fear mongering. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about democracy, because I kind of have a bit of a monologue on this, so just bear with me 1 second. When everybody goes on and on about the word democracy and how important democracy is and all this stuff, what has democracy actually done for any of us? What has it done? I mean, I'm serious. I'm not just bullshitting around here. I'm wondering, what has democracy done for any of us? Has it helped any of us? Has it helped the great majority of us? No. I mean, all we get is Democrat, Republican every election, every 4 years, and we have to vote for one of these other candidates, whether it be in my lifetime, Ronald Reagan, Walter Mondale, George H.W. Bush, uh, Michael Dukakis, George H.W. Bush, Bill Clinton, Ross Perot, even though that was rare in '92, Bill Clinton and Bob Dole, Al Gore, and who was the other Republican in 2000? Oh, George W. Bush, obviously. Duh. W. Bush and
McCain. We got McCain. What's it? John McCain.
yeah, it was 2008. 2004 was John Kerry. Obama or McCain, Obama, Romney,
Al
Trump,
Gore.
Clinton. Yeah, I mean, who? So what? How has any of these people helped democracy? Helped any of us? How has democracy helped any of us? Dick. I mean, as far as I know, I don't see how democracy has helped any of us. But meanwhile, in authoritarian states like Venezuela or Russia or China, these states, that we're supposed to hate, all I'm hearing is stories about how these leaders are actually assisting their people. Whether it would be in Venezuela with homes and with money or whatever, in Russia is the same thing, and also in China. These are authoritarian leaders. But meanwhile, all we're hearing is what a great job they've been doing for decades running their countries. Going back to Hugo Chavez before Maduro. And Putin's been around since '99, and Xi Jinping is, it hasn't been around this long, but yeah, as far everything we've heard about these three countries in particular, how horrible they are, how undemocratic they are, and all this other stuff. But yeah, I mean, but meanwhile, here in the United States, we're a democracy, but Republicans and Democrats agree with each other 100% of the time. And unless it's at least in foreign policy. In domestic policy, maybe there's some kind of disagreement, but even then, in my opinion, that's WWE, because we ultimately know how bullshit that is, because ultimately they're going to do exactly what Wall Street tells them to do. But I digress. I think everybody in the chat might get my point, that what's the point of democracy when the government actually doesn't do anything for us? Ultimately, when we vote every 4 years for the Republican or Democrat, nothing ever changes. So there's no point in democracy, at least our version of democracy here in the U.S. So let's see the chat. Null says, "I'm not sure about Russia and China, one dog." Well, I mean, again, I just expressed the opinion. You can disagree with it, but I mean, ultimately, I think I made the case that our democracy ultimately isn't much of a democracy, because we have we have Democrats and Republicans who agree with each other pretty much 100% of the time. And, they play this game of let's fight each other. But ultimately, when the cameras are off, we'll do exactly what our donors tell us to do. Very similar to WWE and professional wrestling, which is why I've always compared Washington politics to wrestling. Null says, in the U.S., you have freedom of speech. Oh, do we really? Think about it. Do we really have freedom of speech? Right now, Congress just passed a bill basically making it illegal to speak to speak against Israel. If we say anything anti-Israel, we can get in trouble for it. Because
And
I'm not.
and
Go ahead.
and I'm sorry, Andrew. I want to bring this up so when people bring that up, you got to keep in mind that when that Constitution was written, they were talking about the government and itself. But you got to keep in mind that the United States have given the power to the private company or the corporations. So there's no freedom of speech on that one.
Yeah.
People
There's
forget
no
about that.
freedom of speech only applies to the government. I mean, that's also a dirty little secret. If private corporations, as Dee said, they can censor you all day long, which is why it's legal for Google/YouTube to censor all of us. Which is why there's certain topics I can't talk about because I'm streaming on YouTube.
Right.
Even though I would like to talk about other things that interest me, but I can't afford to get my channel censored or the INN channel, which I'm also streaming on. So yeah, that's what.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's a nice conversation to have. A lot of people kind of get that wrong. And I tell people, oh, but you have the freedom to do this, don't you? Don't. Not in America. Because, now, right, if you say something anti-Semitic, right,
Yeah.
well, quote unquote. But I'll give an example. If you just say, hey, ceasefire, free Palestine, that's anti-Semitic, right?
Yeah.
And right. So what they do is that if you have a bank account or if you have a job, if you have internet, they're gonna censor you. They're gonna close your bank accounts, and so on. And again, that's not freedom of speech in itself.
That literally happened in Canada with the truckers
Right.
rally. They
Right.
shut down. They try to close their bank accounts and try to starve them out. But that was in Canada, though. I mean, here in the U.S. doesn't
Look
happen.
what happened.
Not yet.
Look, my understanding. Look what happened with Kanye. I think they
Mhm.
froze some of his assets. That some of his companies left. Something to that effect. I'm just saying.
Yeah, Steph, I appreciate it. I'll DM you after. I'm gonna wrap up in a few minutes. I'll message you. But let's see. Yeah, I mean, YouTube is a corporation, not a country. Yeah, but at the same time, I mean, my point is YouTube ultimately has control of what content they allow on their platform. They can
And the,
that.
and the issue, another thing too. People say, I want to make sure when the Constitution was written, your life was most likely affected by the government. Your life is no
Yeah.
longer affected by the government. Maybe 90, maybe 0.1%. So people tend to forget. Trust me. If I say something like, "Oh, I stand up with Louis Farrakhan," right, and I'm not saying I am. Trust me, your life will not be the same in this country. Your government ain't gonna do anything. Doesn't matter. The country,
Yeah.
your government doesn't run you anymore. It's actually these capitalist corporations. You can't open a bank account. You can't do this. You can't get a job. Oh, you're done.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's why these college kids are kind of covering their faces because they know if their faces are out there, that mean that they'll have a hard time getting a job because they're going to be smeared as anti-Semitic, even though they're protesting the Zionist government in Israel's their their attempted genocide of the Palestinians. Yes, Steph is right. Freedom of, but YouTube, they're a private corporation, so and they think they can get away with censorship, even though we're in America, and they shouldn't be able to, but they can because ultimately their excuse is, well, we're a private corporation, we can do whatever we want.
well, and not only that, they're a private corporation, but they also consider themselves what they call corporate personhood. So that's like attacking another person. So
Yeah.
again, freedom of speech, it's not really a thing, really.
Well, no, man, not anymore. And I don't know if it really was, but This is TikTok. I'm going to wrap up with this. This is TikTok. They decided, as everybody knows, the U.S. government passed a bill to force TikTok to sell to American company because America, America, they want, they think, well, it's a Chinese, so since it's a Chinese company, we get to ban them. So TikTok is suing the U.S. government over freedom of speech rights and First Amendment rights. So this is 2 minutes. So let's listen to this report.
Now, TikTok is suing the United States government over the potential ban of the app in the U.S. The social media platform claiming that a ban violates First Amendment rights. Here with more details is Yahoo Finance's Alexis Keenan. Alexis, what's going on here?
Yeah, so we were expecting this lawsuit, right? Not necessarily today, but we were seeing it coming. We know that ByteDance TikTok has objected on free speech grounds, saying that the U.S. should not be able to just pass a divest or ban law, and that's what President Biden signed into law. And if it took effect, it would, by January 19th, 2025, be gone if the company was not put into U.S. hands, U.S. ownership. Now, the First Amendment speech argument is there. TikTok says it's an editor, it's a publisher, it has its own free speech rights under the U.S. Constitution. Well, that's going to be tested here. We're not sure. They also say that their users' free speech rights under the First Amendment are being compromised here. But look, you can't vicariously assert constitutional rights. That claim is likely going to have to come from the users themselves filing their own lawsuit. Also, there are arguments in here for violations of bills of attainder. That's laws that punish entities, people without a trial. Also, equal protection argument in here where the U.S., disadvantages a party specifically, and TikTok, ByteDance go into detail about how the U.S. is singling out them particularly to make this law. But look, the U.S. disadvantages foreign companies all the time. All you have to do is look at tariffs to know that. Also, finally, there's a Fifth Amendment argument here. It's a takings clause argument where they're saying that the government is taking away private property without just compensation. Easy fix there, maybe. You can compensate these parties in order to alleviate that problem. But
So what? So is she suggesting U.S. government should just give ByteDance hundreds of billions of dollars in order to buy out TikTok for them? I mean, that's not an easy thing to do, to alleviate that issue.
But look, there would probably be antitrust concerns too if there had to be a divestment of a TikTok to a U.S. entity, because who are the social media companies, who are the tech companies that could likely buy it? Those that would, I think, raise some eyebrows at the FTC and the DOJ if they were to take that entity under their ownership. So these are claims to be tested. The main question will be, how far is the First Amendment going to go to protect the free speech of a foreign company? A lot of times,
Remember, foreign company. And that's the key word. She emphasized foreign. Basically, she's like, no.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, come on. I mean, it's a foreign company, right? I mean, we should be able to tell them that they should sell their company to an American-owned or American-owned company or American-controlled, let's say, because today these corporations are not really American-owned. They're more like they're multinational corporations. They're not. But what the U.S. means is, oh yeah, no Chinese control. Any other country, yes, but no Chinese control. This is what they're mad about. So yeah, I mean, basically, TikTok is fighting this in court. Let's see what happens. I mean, I hope that they'll be able to win the case because this is bullshit. And the United States continues to impose their will on. The only reason why they're doing this because a lot of TikTok users are pro-Palestinian. That's the main reason why they're doing this. And Mitt Romney even admitted to this. He's a senator from Utah. He's admitted to this that, oh yeah, they're pro-Palestinian. So by definition, that means that, we have to, take control of that platform because TikTok isn't doing enough to control these people. But let's say if Facebook buys them or Twitter buys them or any other social media platform. There's an issue of antitrust because if Facebook buys them, especially, they would control a great majority of social media here in the U.S. So here comes the Department of Justice, here comes the SEC, here comes the FTC, all these agencies, to control because they're antitrust laws. So yeah, there's a mess. The politicians created a mess in Washington. Who knows how the court's going to rule on this? We'll see. But as far as I'm concerned, they should rule. This is a First Amendment issue, and ByteDance or whoever owns TikTok should have the right to own it. And do whatever they want with it.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree. And that's the thing with these antitrust laws is that now with these social medias, I think they only would come down to like they'll bring it up, but if they know that they can make something out of it, like my understanding with the Twitter files that FBI infiltrated Facebook to manipulate the news, and they'll for sure they'll do the anti-law. Oh, we gotta take you to court, Meta or whatever. But at the end of the day, they're not gonna do anything. They'll probably be like, go ahead, Mark, do your thing. We're going to come back to you 4 years later, and bother you a little bit again.
Yeah. And then you'll have to pay a fine and, we'll all pocket the money and move on. Because that's most likely what's going to happen. There's no even though there's antitrust laws in the books, but ultimately, as long as you get TikTok away from the Chinese, that's all the U.S. really cares about. So, yeah, I'm going, and my battery is dying, so it's almost 9. I do have to wrap up. But yeah, that's Angel in the Afternoon this week. I hope everybody enjoyed. I'll DM you after I'm done, Steph, in a few minutes. So any last thoughts, D, before we go? Or
yeah, I appreciate everybody for sure. Listen to my podcast, Deconstructing Topics. The last episode I had, Malcolm X and the White Liberals. That's on fire on YouTube. Yeah, just copy and paste the Deconstructing Topic podcast, and we make it happen.
Yeah, I mean that's a good episode. So thank you everybody for joining me. I hope enjoyed the episode. I'll see you guys next week for the next episode, Angel in the Afternoon. And hope everybody has a great weekend. Tune in tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern for Pro Wrestling Talk. Hopefully, D will be able to join us, to talk. And I'll see you guys tomorrow night for Pro Wrestling Talk. And if you're not a wrestling fan, I'll see you next week for Angel in the Afternoon. Have a nice weekend, folks. And we'll see you next week.